protection sometimes can keep us safe.
Yeah.
And safety can prevent our success.
And you're like, well, wait a minute. I'm doing the laundry. I'm cleaning the house. I'm going to work. I'm doing all the things. And you can't even take the chicken out?
When I decided to take the leap of faith, because it's a leap of faith to get into the financial industry as a female.
Welcome to We Are Augusta, the Women's Financial Forum podcast. Today we welcome Amy Rhodes. Amy has built and guided national and international brands along their journeys, and now shepherds Trajan Wealth's growth as Chief Marketing Officer. Amy shares her unique perspective on getting creative, managing fear, and staying true to yourself in a rapidly changing world.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here with each of you today.
We are excited that you're here with us.
Thank you.
Very much.
I love the show. I love the wisdom that you bring every week, and it's a real honor. Thank you.
Well, you're going to bring a whole lot of wisdom and different perspective today, and we're excited for that too. So we were kind of talking before we got going, and you kept talking about clarity is where it really starts.
Yep.
So will you explain that to us?
Absolutely. So clarity is something that doesn't always just happen. It is something that unfolds for us oftentimes. We all go through life and we have a lot of influences and people that are in our lives. And at some point in our lives, often many of us come to this point where we pause and we say, wait a minute, this life I'm doing, this trajectory I'm on, is this all mine? Or is this a part of a construct that might have come from an influence that's not mine? Maybe somebody wanted me to have this career or this family or life situation. There are different moments when clarity arrives in different and unique ways. And once we start to have that clarity, then we can start embarking upon our path to our own alignment and our own life. And we're going to talk a lot about how we get to that point of clarity and really ground in yourself and who you are, because that's each of truly our divine right in being here and having this human experience. It's fantastic.
And it can be scary too.
It can be, because it can start to show areas of our life and paths that we've been going down, that when we actually pause, we might realize that was never mine to begin with. Like, I never wanted that. Sometimes it can be one of the things that pops in for me a lot is I feel like, oftentimes people are influenced by the career they should have. I think about this as artists. A lot of artists are directed to do other things because you can't make a living as a creative. You hear that, and it's like, oh my gosh, that could not be more untrue. And so you've got incredibly creative people that are doing totally out of alignment jobs just because that's what they were coached to do. And my hope is that at some point on those artists and those creators' journeys, that they have that moment of realization and get back onto their own path.
Mm-hmm. I think we see some of this just in our world too, in finance. When we're meeting, I'm going to use a couple, husband and wife, for example. And, we have to do a lot of discovery, asking questions, digging down in, what do you guys want? Just, things like that. We all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But what we find is that they might not be aligned, and one of them gives in and they're following one of the other's ideas. Maybe it's a wife, maybe it's a husband, but one of them tends to have the louder voice and the other one takes a different role. That might not be the role they should be taking.
Yeah. Or you just think about, growing up and hearing, it could be parents or it could be other influences say, hey, this is what would be most successful, or this is what would make you happiest, or hey, or Uncle so-and-so or Aunt so-and-so did this, and you should follow that same path. I know for me, my father's older brother was really kind of like a father figure to him, and had, he forged something great for himself, and in terms of, joining the Air Force and then going to get his master's and then going to law school and then having his own law firm. My dad, looking so much up to my uncle, was like, hey, go to school, be an attorney.
And you said,
I did. I initially thought, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And I went through undergrad, and then I went to, the St. Louis University School of Law. And once I got there, I was like, what am I doing here?
Wow.
but I just knew that that was the path, that was the path, that, that was someone who was very successful in our family, and one of the first forms of, true, career wise, and kind of having that autonomy and being able to be in control.
It's not your path.
Right.
And you discovered that.
So
didn't you spend some time? You took off to another country and lived your best life in your moment?
Yeah, so that rang true to me when you said it could be a career path even, and how you said so many creatives find themselves in a space that isn't truly them.
Right.
And they're not really living their passion.
It's not theirs. It's somebody else's idea of what should be theirs.
Yeah.
Right. And look where you sit now.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll never forget. I remember taking the quote unquote, the walk of shame, and, dropping out of law school. And not feeling like I had to have a plan.
Yeah.
But not really having a plan, but having, teammates. And
but just knowing that plan wasn't yours.
Yeah.
That's courageous.
Very much.
I applaud you. That's incredible.
It was hard to embrace that at the time. And I think it's hard for most people. But ultimately, I remember going to my uncle's, office and telling him. And, I was very shaky on having to admit to him, hey, I felt like I'd screwed up. I felt like I was letting him down in some way, shape, or form. But ultimately, when I decided to take the leap of faith, because it's a leap of faith to get into the financial industry.
Yes, it is.
Female.
Yeah.
And when I took that leap of faith, both my dad and my uncle were like, I don't think so.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. They were terrified of me joining this industry as, who I am. And they were like, verbatim, I remember them both kind of saying in different ways, hey, there's some people that are really successful in that space, but not always people like you. Wow. Essentially is what they were saying. And it was from a place of protection.
Right, of course.
What does that mean, though? Oh, just, it was from a place of protection of what this industry typically looks like, and just,
And I think that a lot of times, you're touching on something that's really interesting. There are a few things I want to come back to on that. That story is incredible. Seriously incredible. Protection sometimes can keep us safe.
Yeah.
And safety can prevent our success.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I've got this job that's really consistent and I have an expected paycheck, and that's great. But are you living the life that you want? That might be a little more risky, and you might be incredibly, wildly successful.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. It was the risk involved. It wasn't that, salary, how I came into the industry. It wasn't that way. It was, 100% commission position at the time. And so that's why. And, but also other reasons, and what was pretty cool is that the salaried safe position that I'd left in supply chain, I doubled that income that in my first year in the business.
Boring job, the one that got you through until you could do it exactly what you wanted.
Right.
That's incredible, Blair.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that has surfaced for me along my own personal journey is along that, people can sometimes challenge you back and say, well, you abandoned this family legacy, right? Okay, go with me on this. You abandoned that. But would you do that, or would you abandon yourself?
Yeah.
And I don't think that we always focus on ourselves, because I think people are normally very caring, and we care about how we show up in our families and what other people think. But what about us? And it's not self-centered to think that way. We should care about how we feel and whether we're living the life that we want. We should care about that.
Well, and I think as women, however, we don't think that way because the roles that we inherently play in all of our lives.
Yeah.
And we put ourselves on the back burner. Sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it until we wake up one day and we're thinking, you couldn't even take the chicken out of the freezer? If I asked you to take the chicken out of the freezer, well, and the kid, I had practice, or I had this, or I had that. And you're like, well, wait a minute, I'm doing the laundry, I'm cleaning the house, I'm going to work, I'm doing all the things, and you can't even take the chicken out? So maybe, the moment of clarity there is I am not living my life. I'm living your life. And if you want to be a part of my life, I mean, you can't kick your kids out, right? But if, now you have to refocus on boundaries.
Right.
Which again, I think we talked about that in the last episode, and I hate to be repetitive, but it comes down to boundaries for yourself, and you can still have meaningful relationships with those boundaries while
more meaningful,
right? While staying true to things that you can be passionate about. Because once you have that passion, everybody's going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Showing up as your true, real, and authentic self is first and foremost the most important thing. And that also means bringing your unique gifts and talents. Every individual is truly as unique as our fingerprint. And I believe that when we don't bring those gifts to our relationships, to our work, to every aspect of who we are, we're holding back something really special that we could be sharing with the world.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not going to do that, who is? Like, what parts of us will never be seen?
Yeah.
We'll never see the light of day if we don't share those. So I think that's really important. And I also believe that when you share your unique gifts, I believe that other people sense that energy. You can tell when people are showing up as exactly who they are. Sometimes I like to even think about that as like a fixed energy. If they're really grounded in who they are. Think about like Jack Nicholson as an actor. He's always Jack Nicholson. And I think that when you show up as who you are, there's a trust that comes along with that, because people talk about authenticity a lot, right? That's really what they're talking about, is the truth of who that person is.
Yeah.
And if you're bringing that, people are going to trust you more. And if they know they can trust you, then they care more about what you're sharing with them, because it's coming from a real place. So it's very important.
Oh, I 100% agree. And I think as we mature through life, not just through our careers, obviously we're going to change and morph and become, exactly who we are. So we're not never who we are. But if we don't, because I mean, growing up, you may or may not assume this about me, but I was pretty out there. I mean, I've always been, I don't have a problem speaking my mind, but it's how we choose to show up in those moments, right? I had to temper it a lot as I matured. I didn't just blurt out the first thing that came to mind. Got some laughs out of it a lot of times, but now the way it correlates over into my professional world is I'm so passionate about what I do. I'm very grounded and happy in my life. When you have that inner peace, it's much easier for it to come out and for people to see it and feel it. We're all built on energy, whether you know it or not, or whether you can feel it or not. That's a gut instinct.
100%.
And so you can tell, and I know my clients can tell, even when I just first meet them, when they're walking out, they're like, this was great, because I do believe in what I do. And I love talking to people about where they want to go and what their goals and hopes and dreams are.
Yeah.
And they know that that's real.
Yeah.
And that shows, and they tap into that energy.
Absolutely.
There's one of my favorite books is by Elizabeth Gilbert. It's called Big Magic. Have you read it?
Mm-mm.
Highly recommend. And it's all about, she talks a lot about living an enchanted life. And that all comes from when you do the creative work to uncover who you are and then live that life. And it's not something that you don't have to work at. Like, literally, you have to work at it every day. You have to be disciplined about moving forward toward your dreams. There's this part, though, that I love. She quotes a professor, and he would say something like, let me see if I can get this right. One of the oldest and most interesting tricks that the universe plays on us is that it hides little jewels inside of us and hopes that we can find them. And then the next part of what he would tell his students is, the universe wants to know, will you bring forth these gifts? And hopes the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have these jewels hidden inside of us, and bringing those forth and sharing those with the world is truly a part of the way that we can bless the world back, and also hope that we receive that blessing from others as well, that we get to know truly who they are.
I love
and
that.
the most unique parts of them.
Yeah, that's incredible. I never thought about it that way. There'll be little jewels inside.
Yep.
What do you think I can have mine appraised for?
Invaluable.
Yeah. So if it's something that you're engaged in, then that has to be your authentic self. You can't engage fully in something that you don't enjoy doing. And you have to be curious about it, and you have to just like want to constantly improve and create a new bar, like raise the bar to a new level that no one's ever heard of before. Because not because you're trying to get ahead of everybody else, because you're more like chasing the white rabbit.
I do also like, though, us going to the place of, can we deconstruct what success looks like?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like that's one of those definitions that I don't know who made that, but that's not my definition anymore. And
No.
when I went through my change, like I peeled a lot of that away.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever's it is, they can have it. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's not mine. I don't hold that as a definition anymore.
Yeah, that's part of our journey of growth.
It is.
It really is.
Yep.
When sometimes the layer that we're shedding could be another person that we've shedded, or just like what we're talking about. Our beliefs are
belief
changing.
system. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Amy, I myself, and I think Jen as well. Yeah, we attended together. Thanks for giving me the nudge that day. But we have attended your yoga classes, and as a yogi, how has that impacted the rest of your life? And in what ways has that shown up?
So many ways. Yoga has shifted my life in ways that I couldn't even imagine. So first off, the Yoga Sutras are sets of moral principles that us yogis live by. And it's about ways that you live your life and also constraints, so you have both, and it's all about the balance. Some teach you how to have a better relationship with yourself, because only when you have a good relationship with yourself can you truly have good, healthy, balanced, boundaried relationships with others. The other sutras are how to have good relationships with others. And so there are so many things to share within that. I like to pull little nuggets out with each class and just share those with whoever's in the class. One that I love that always sits with me really in my heart is Satya. And Satya in yoga is truthfulness in all forms, no matter what that is. And the reason that I love Satya so much is we all have our own unique truth. And that's everything that we're talking about today, right? Getting to the base and the heart of that truth of who you are so that you can have the momentum. Because when we're not tapped into the truth of who we are, you can feel stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And it's why we do yoga. Yoga removes stuck energy, right? It's why we do these healing methods, sound healing. You remove stuck energy. All of these things are methods and they're scientific. They're not, they're not woo-woo. We hear that. They're not.
Yeah.
They are completely scientific. Albert Einstein, it's all based in energy, and you can't create it, but you can alter it, right? You can shift it. So Satya is probably the one that really lands for me the most and that I love, but yoga has shifted my life in so many ways.
How do you create a space where people feel safe enough to be honest about uncomfortable truths?
That's such a great question. And I think when people are sharing, especially when they're sharing truths about themselves, you need to always create a space where people are comfortable being vulnerable. Mm-hmm. It's, Brene Brown has brought us so much research on this topic. It's fascinating. It's incredible. I'm glad that somebody actually took the time and care to provide us with the research. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's honesty. It's truth. And when we understand where people are coming from their various levels of depth, we can take conversations to levels we never could before. Mm-hmm. We can understand each other across so many different aspects of our lives. And so, especially in the creative world and in marketing, people are always bringing new ideas. And they need to have a space where they can bring those ideas so that we can take it to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Well, it carries over also, again, I'm going to correlate it back to our financial world, creating that safe space, especially on these initial conversations that we have with prospects. and it's scary for them to walk in the door. And sometimes they're kind of closed off. It really becomes our, as a fiduciary, it's our responsibility. We have to understand everything about not just their financial world, but how they think. How do they think about money? How do they think about their lives? So creating that space within 5 minutes, we're going to sit down and here we go. Let's talk about you. It can be difficult, but is so immensely important in order for us to be effective at our job.
Do you find that when you ask them about themselves, do they light up? Do they like talking about that? Is that
some do and some don't?
Yeah, it depends.
Mm-hmm.
And so I find kind of like we're talking about in our last episode is asking the question underneath the question, because I'm usually pretty surprised at where the conversation goes and what is said next when you get an answer to a question, but then you follow up with another question off of that response, because it always goes so much deeper than you were thinking it would.
Mm-hmm. What happens when someone is not ready to be honest? Do you push? Do you wait?
Everyone has to arrive at, and honesty, we're talking about more like the truth of who you are, right? So getting to those deep truths, right? And so if people are arriving at that sort of truth, oftentimes it's an unfolding. I like to relate it to doing math, okay, because that's simple and we understand it. You don't start off with knowing how to do algebra. You learn your numbers, then you learn to add and subtract, then you learn the multiplication tables. You can't jump from one extreme part of understanding the unfolding of discovering the truth of who you are so you can get that momentum right off the bat. It's an unfolding and creating a space and having conversations and listening and creating that openness.
I think you have to be willing to be honest with yourself. And until you're ready to be honest, you're never going to get there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And to answer your question, do you push? Do you wait? Do you stop? I think you peel at the pace that they're comfortable with. So you're slowly just, layering off those layers and relating it to what's most important to them. But again, everyone is different. And so it's at their pace. And I think as advisors, we are pretty good at learning that pace right away off of their body language. And, is this an okay direction to take the conversation? How can we get at the root of what we need to so that we can do our job best and help them maximize?
Yeah, sometimes I think it's about not just the open-ended questions, but something like, well, tell me more about that. Right? Help me understand where you're coming from on that.
Or what does that mean to you? Right. Because somebody will say, I don't know, what's an example?
Families are layered.
Yeah.
Families are so layered. And with what we do, helping families, you have to understand those families. And
yeah. Or it might be that and just like the topic of retirement, for instance, when someone says, well, why are we here today? And they say, well, we want to make sure we're on track for retirement. Well, what does retirement mean to you? Because I think it means something different to everyone. And so just pausing and letting them fill that space of what it really means to them. Because for someone, it may mean working a part-time job and just having, more of a part-time schedule. And for others, it's no work at all. It's a complete stop. And they're going to be, cruising around the world. And for others, it might mean, I don't want to travel at all. I've been traveling nonstop with work. I've been everywhere. I want to stay home and do nothing. But that is living their best life at that point. So I'm always surprised by the answers because they're all so different. But I think the biggest opportunity that we have is actually letting those answers come out and not saying what our thought of what retirement should be for them or what it is for everyone else.
How cool is it that you all in the planning get to be a part of helping people achieve that huge life goal when they get to spend their time with the people doing the things that they love the most? That's amazing.
Yeah. Telling somebody you can retire is the greatest. It's the greatest feeling in the world. They did the hard work. You've done it.
Yeah, and congratulating them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're there.
And it's not even like a yay for us because they did the work.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can even just give them the clarity of showing, yeah, you did it and you're here and everything's okay. But an email came and it was something along the lines of, thank you for helping us gain clarity for our final years that we have together. And I read it when I was in bed because I think it came through either later in the evening or, but it almost brought tears to my eyes because of how important it was to them about, hey, these are the final years of our life. And the realness just in that. And they said final like 3 times in the email.
Yeah.
And that's what made it feel like, okay, yeah, like, and that's the best part I feel about this job is people are coming to you and trusting you with really important times. This is a couple that had been married for 50 years. And, thank you. And, giving us clarity for these final years we have to enjoy together. It just, when you get moments like that, it just feels all worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you excited
It
to
does.
bring that same level of clarity to the next individual or household.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love too when you get someone where you help them retire and they have anxiety, and then 6 months, a year, 2 years later, they're like, thank you for helping me through that. I love retirement. Every day's a Saturday. I'm doing my thing here, and I'm glad that I shared with you that I had the anxiety or that you read into it because you helped me work through that. And now I'm so glad that I made that decision and I'm never looking back.
Or like when you have the couple that are very different ages, or not that different, but even just like 6 to 8, maybe even 10 years, but even 6 years, and one spouse is already retired and they're, the other one is still working, and sometimes that spouse is like, really wanting that other spouse to retire because they want to spend more time together, or vice versa. Maybe it's the one that's still working feeling like, okay, well, my spouse is getting older. I just want us to be able to spend more time together. I'm constantly working. That's all I do. And so it's those moments where, maybe you've only been working with them for a year or so, but then you're able to have that conversation of, okay, well, here's June, June 2nd's the day and we're here, and just seeing how happy they are and them kind of looking at each other, just getting that confirmation and realizing how much they are relying on the trajectory and the different, expertise that we can share with them to show them, yes, you're okay. And this is what's happening now. Congrats. Let's celebrate, just seeing them so happy.
That's awesome.
What an honor.
Yeah.
Where should people begin to start their momentum?
In creative work, you always need some sort of brief. You need to know where you're headed. And with creative or marketing teams, you need to have a vision. And then we move forward together toward that vision. And you've got to have goals in place, right? And goals can help you to cast that vision forward so you can see it from afar. But then oftentimes you need to be able to take smaller steps to get to that goal. Otherwise, it can feel like boiling the ocean. Have you experienced that before?
Yeah. It's like when you're running and if you can't see the finish line, it's harder to keep going. But if you can't see it, if you can at least envision it and envision yourself getting to it, I don't know why, but visualizing that helps you keep going and get to the finish line.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
you see yourself there already.
Well, and for some people, it's hard to self-motivate. And I know we're talking in broad, we're talking in a broad range here. And again, we're relying on people to be able to self-motivate. And there's some people who don't self-motivate. So take a smaller bite, take a smaller piece, and like a steam engine, right? You have to stoke the fire first. So that's finding your clarity, maybe. Okay, now I'm stoking this fire. And then the more we stoke the fire, the steam comes, and then the wheels start turning a little bit. And a little bit. So make that your 5-minute, maybe your 10-minute, and give yourself grace and time before you get that full momentum going. And then I think for some people, once you do get a taste of it, and once you have that first success, it's not going to be enough. You are going to want more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the first time we stand up for ourselves, first time, you know, you're going to have a lot of firsts as you're really discovering who you truly are, and let that carry you through.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love the visualizations too. Like both of those are strong visualizations that can help you to understand the concept of moving forward.
Yeah.
Taking action.
Yeah. It reminds me of courage. You've probably all heard this before, but courage doesn't mean that you're not scared. It means that even if you're scared, you start anyways.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So just start scared, and
just start.
That first step is the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
And also begin anywhere.
Right.
It can be messy. Begin in the middle. If that's where you're at and what you have to work with at the time, start there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then your path it'll unfold, right? You'll see that. It'll become illuminated when you take action.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the visual that you gave of the steam engine and how it, you're building that momentum gradually. I think about all of the different components of that steam engine. So I think of that as being the team and who else is in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, maybe it doesn't come intrinsically, but maybe there's motivators outside, and that could be in people, that could be monetary, but having that team and utilizing the resources around you, or tapping into those different to have a well-working machine.
Yeah.
It's not just one, there's not just one piece or one person. There's a lot of hands involved, right?
I love that. Yeah. It's not just the steam. It's not just the fire. It's not just Also, mindset has so much to do with momentum. So much to do with momentum. Something that's been on my mind a lot lately is limiting beliefs and limiting belief systems. And that is something that for me, within my own personal constitution, I purge as soon as I start to sense or feel it. When I look at the fact that we've gone to the other side of the moon, right? This beautiful planet, everything that we see is created. I think that a lot of times limiting belief does come from a place of fear. And if you can realize that, you can sense how that feels in your body. If you feel fearful, or if you say, I see you, I see that I'm scared, I'm going to push that aside because I'm going to move into a place of courage and discovery and curiosity. That's inner work that we have to do that's interesting, right? And I think that we plant in our mind, we plant the seeds of either fear or curiosity and progress. And we get to choose that. It's not that it's easy, right? Because you may wake up and just have a bad day. Sometimes we wake up and just have bad days, right? We're filled with doubt, or something's happened.
Or nothing's happened.
Or nothing's happened. But you can, and if that's the case and your energy is low, you can actually actively exercise. You can do breath work.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that you can do to take little steps toward finding whatever that homeostasis or that energetic baseline that you want to achieve is. But the key is to take action toward that. Limiting beliefs to me is something that my hope for anyone that experiences them is that you purge them like bad blood.
And at the end of the day, we always encourage clients to do their own research and to, be well informed. The more informed you are, the better. But ultimately, when it comes to needing a CPA that you can trust, or an estate planning attorney, here at Trajan Wealth, we have vetted these professionals, and it's to the point of being able to walk to each other's desk, and the value in that.
It's immeasurable.
Yeah. Now, what's a family office for those Augustas who aren't familiar with that terminology?
Well, a family office is one that, as Blair indicated, everything under one roof. So all of your estate planning needs, your tax planning, CPA taxes, business taxes needs, as well as the financial planning and wealth management side. Mm-hmm. So we all literally are under one roof. If we have a client that's working with the entire team, let's say it's tax season, well, we don't have to worry about getting hold of somebody at a different office, or somebody who's getting their taxes done in a strip mall, talking to somebody. We can actually physically walk over to the CPA's desk and say, hey, we need your help.
Exactly.
Well,
We're held to a higher level of accountability because we're all right here.
we're all here. And a lot of people and families, if you think about families that are trying to build legacies and people want to have a legacy to leave behind, don't always think about how their investments in retirement planning folds into estate planning and how investments in retirement planning connects with taxes and strategizing so that you're keeping more money in your investments. And then that's built into your estate plan. All of these things work together. And it's really incredible. And I don't think a lot of families, because not a lot of people do it.
Well, a family office used to be reserved for the uber wealthy, right? But we bring that to absolutely everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
And creating a life that you love doesn't mean that it's a life without storms, right? We're all human here. And the true test of the creator, which is each of us that's creating our own lives, is how you work through those storms and challenges that you never saw coming.
Right. How do you rise to the occasion?
Right. Always showing up for yourself. If there's one thing, always show up for yourself.
When those storms in life occur, going back to our last episode, it's one of those things where who are you calling first? When something goes wrong or something goes right, you hit the lottery. Who are you calling? One of the first three people, I hope, is your financial advisor, and vice versa. When something goes wrong, who are you calling?
Well, and if it relates all towards life, let's say you lost a spouse, like you said, you won the lottery, the first three people you're going to call: estate planner, attorney, your CPA, or your financial advisor.
And what if they were all on the same team?
Oh my God. Where does that exist?
What is the biggest thing that kills momentum for people financially?
Fear.
What do you mean?
They become scared of the stock market. Maybe it's too volatile. They, don't want to participate, or they got out and they don't know when to get back in. Not staying consistent, not investing in themselves. So it is, if you don't start momentum, you can't stop momentum.
Wow.
Right? So you have to start before you can stop.
Yeah.
And if you don't start investing in yourself, because we're just talking strictly financially now, you have to start that ball rolling. You have to start contributing to something. And if you focus your efforts in the wrong direction, you can inadvertently also be affecting your ability to accumulate. Meaning, if you focus on paying off all the debt first before I'm saving, you're not going to get anywhere because you're missing years and years and years of compounding growth by directing your assets into the wrong area. Find the balance.
And so in that instance, it doesn't matter, to your point, how much money you were making.
Right.
There's no balance and there's no true plan other than, let's just funnel everything towards the debt.
Right. Or if you think you're doing the right thing, reach out. You've got to get professional guidance. I think sometimes this industry, there's so many people that we sit down and speak with. I'm like, I should know more about this than I do. And I ask why. It's not your job. That's my job.
Yeah.
So I think people think that it's such an easy industry to understand. And they finally come in and they realize that there's so many gaps that they don't know about because they just don't know. No, I'm not a hairdresser. I try to sometimes, and I go back to my hairdresser. I'm like, I screwed it up again.
Exactly.
Right? I don't understand how chemical works.
You make such a great point. Like, why do people think they should know this? We have professionals. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So what is one of the mindset shifts that helps people move faster towards their goals?
So I think that there's this notion that we always need to do more, and that's not the case. Finding momentum and moving towards your goals doesn't mean doing more. Actually, it might mean peeling away and doing less so that you can be focused in the direction that you're headed.
So keep your eye on the finish line. That's what it sounds like to me. And you do that, in the wealth space by having regular meetings. That regular might mean once a year. You might be on autopilot, or it might mean quarterly. Whatever it means for you, keep the end goal in mind. And because every decision you make, the little ones, the big ones, are going towards that goal, subconsciously and consciously.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm one of those nerdy people that checks in on my 401k and my investments probably daily because no, I love it because you know what? And if you've been invested long enough, you know that you just follow the ups and downs of the market. You always stay invested though. Like I've learned that. I know that now. So that fear has gone away now because I've lived through it a couple of times. But it can fill you with little momentary sense of pride to go, I did that. And I started all those years ago and I'm happy with where I'm at. And it can propel you to keep going.
Yes.
So, Yep. Just little check-ins.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Staying the course.
Yes.
Thank you for being our first guest, Amy.
Thank you for having me.
We are true. We are steady. We are
Augusta.
Nailed it, Bailey.
You always show up for yourselves. And how do you show up for your families? And what does that mean in finance? Like, how do we connect all of these things together? Are you eating Almond Joys?
Yeah,
No.
really good.
Yes, I'm eating Almond Joy.